The tumultuous case of the cousins of the late Barry Sherman and their claim for a stake in the multi-billion-dollar Apotex family fortune has gone to the Ontario Court of Appeal. Wednesday, a three-justice panel heard arguments from the cousins' lawyer that Sherman breached fiduciary duty by failing to protect his vulnerable, younger cousins in a decades-old transaction involving the first generic drug firm Sherman was involved in years before he founded Apotex. Lawyer Brad Duplitsky, seen with Kerry Winter, was back in court Wednesday arguing that Winter and his brothers are owed a fiduciary duty by the late Barry Sherman. Carlos Osorio, Toronto Star file photo. The cousins' case has been in court at various times over the years, most recently last fall when Superior Court Justice Kenneth Hood dismissed as nonsensical the claims by the cousins that Sherman owed them a fiduciary duty. Hood said the lengthy case was an abusive process, and there was no reason for a trial. On Wednesday, the cousins, represented by lawyer Brad Duplitsky, asked the court to set aside Hood's ruling and direct that a trial be held. The appeal panel has reserved its decision. Meanwhile, the investigation into the mysterious murders of Sherman and his wife Honey continues. They were found dead in their Toronto home on Deck 15, though they likely died 2 days previously. Police have ruled the deaths by ligature strangulation, a targeted homicide. 8 months into the investigation, there have been no police updates. Article continued. Apotex, Canada's generic drug giant, was founded by Sherman in 1974. It is a private company. Sherman's personal fortune, he owned almost all of Apotex, has been estimated at $4.77 billion. Read more. Barry Sherman was helping to develop pod pill for medical marijuana user. Sherman investigation initially focused only on Barry's wife Honey as a murder victim. Barry and Honey Sherman were murdered, private investigators claim, before Apotex. When Sherman was still in university in the 1960s, he worked his summers at Empire Laboratories, a generic firm in Toronto owned by his uncle Lou Winter. Empire made tetracycline and other drugs. Uncle Lou and his wife died in 1965 within 17 days of each other. The Winters had 4 children under the age of 10, Jeff, Dana, Carrie and Paul, who were then adopted by another family, and their estate was looked after by Royal Trust. Dana died some years ago and is represented by his widow, Julia, in the appeal. Sherman, in his early 20s and studying aeronautical engineering at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, offered with a partner to purchase Empire in 1965. Other companies were interested. Sherman's first offer was rejected by Royal Trust. A second offer from Sherman included an option for each of the 4 Winter children to eventually work for Empire as adults and to each acquire 5% of the shares of the company if employed for 2 years. Article continued below. In questioning yesterday, Justice Lois Roberts referred to the option as a sweetener to convince Royal Trust to sell Empire to Sherman and his partner. Royal Trust sold to Sherman and the partner in 1967 for $450,000, which ended up being $100,000 more than the next bidder. What happened next is the subject of decades of acrimony, and charges and countercharges, between Sherman and the cousins. Part of the agreement was that the option would expire if Sherman no longer controlled Empire. He and his partner eventually sold Empire and Sherman started Apotex. Sherman lawyer Catherine Kay told court that, once not in control of Empire, Sherman had no obligation to the cousins, though Sherman did provide money to each of them over the years. As a result of the option expiring, she said they did not have an interest in Sherman's eventual ownership of Apotex. She noted that Royal Trust, representing the Winter cousins at the time, wanted a more binding agreement from Sherman for the Empire deal, but she said Sherman would not budge. Duplitsky argued that an ad hoc fiduciary duty outlasted the option agreement and that the Superior Court judge should have taken that into account. Duplitsky told court that Lou Winter was, like a surrogate father, to Barry. Winter brought Sherman into the generic business and Sherman, in turn, was going to take care of the kids if the company did well, Duplitsky told court. Kay told the three-judge panel that Teplitsky was merely re-arguing a case that had already been argued, and she saw no palpable or overriding error by the Superior Court judge that needed to be addressed by the appellate judges. She said the ongoing litigation, which seeks 20% of the Apotek's wealth, has been hanging over the head of Apotek's and the late Sherman. The Superior Court ordered the cousins to pay $300,000 in court costs last year. Sherman wanted $1 million, but that payment is on hold pending the appeal. Justices Robert Sharp, Russell Jones and Roberts will issue their decision sometime in the next few weeks. Kevin Donovan is the Star's chief investigative reporter based in Toronto. Reach him by email at kdonovan@thestar.ca, phone 416-312-3503 or follow him on Twitter, @_Kevin Donovan. Read more about Apotek's